Here's the surprising way for you to manifest your goals and dreams. You need to manifest from your soul's blueprint. And today, Alexa Darrin will tell us all about what we need to do to get there. She's a spiritual coach, psychic medium, and manifestation mentor. And she helps women uncover their soul's purpose, clear energetic blocks, and manifest lives filled with joy, abundance, and success. And I'm so looking forward to this because I'm so interested in finding my aligned way of acting so that I can manifest a lot faster. So tell us, Alexa, how can someone find their path and manifest from their soul's blueprint?
Manifestation Empress podcast
with Lily Patrascu shares manifestation strategies to live your dream life.
Yeah, great question. So I primarily, I work with the Akashic Records as the foundation of my work with clients. And I should just explain what the Akashic Records are for those of our listeners who don't know. So the Akashic Records is an energetic library of every decision that your soul has ever made, sort of the most simple way of explaining it, that exists at the fifth dimension. And so I use the Akashic Records to access your soul's blueprint, like how you were created as a soul at the moment of creation, and kind of comparing that to where you are now. And there's also, we all have a manifestation blueprint, the unique way that our soul is designed to manifest. So by understanding who we are at the soul level, not what society has conditioned us to believe that we are, not, what we think we are based on the limiting beliefs about what's possible or what's acceptable, but who we actually are, and understanding how we uniquely manifest, we can then align our actions to that. And then we can manifest things a lot more quickly and easily and joyfully and aligned.
Thank you. So how can an entrepreneur figure out what they need to do in order to manifest faster?
So I think that the first thing is to understand that there's a lot of manifestation experts out there that have, if they say they've got their one formula that they're going to guarantee that that's going to, result in manifestation. And then I see a lot of people, they believe that, and then they get really disheartened when it doesn't work. And that's just because that method is just out of alignment with your unique soul's blueprint. And so I think it's understanding that you need to find something, first of all, if you haven't gotten an Akashic record reading, for instance, and you're trying to just navigate this on your own, is finding something that feels aligned, right? And so if that's something, where it's like, okay, well, I see a lot of success, people are experiencing a lot of success from that method, but it does, for me, it just feels a little bit off, then that might be a sign that that's not aligned with your blueprint, because it really is about what's going to be resonating with you and what's going to feel good. Like, that's the thing, is that when we understand who we are on the soul level and reconnect with that and heal a lot of the limiting beliefs and inner child stuff and a lot of past life stuff as well, kind of clear all that clutter out and reconnect with who we truly are, and then understand our manifesting blueprint, then it starts to feel like, oh yeah, that does make sense for me. That does bring me a lot of joy. That feels better than, this other way. Like, for some people, a vision board and thinking about the end goal and really visualizing that, really outcome focused, that's the way that they manifest. But not everyone's like that. Some people are more process. So the process has to feel really aligned with the feeling that they want at the end of their manifestation. So they're going to need to find a job or build a business or have a path that every day brings them joy. They're not going to be able to just show up at some job, even if it pays really well, and just go through the motions to get that big, whatever that golden ticket is at the end. It's not going to work. It's going to end up in it's not going to lead to the abundance that they could get if they found a process that they really love. So that's just kind of one example of the differences, right? So if you do all the vision boards and you visualize that end goal and you're like, why is this isn't working? There must be something wrong with me. It's not that. It's just that that's not in alignment with your soul.
Thank you. So how do we know? Let's say if we didn't have the possibility of consulting with a manifestation mentor like you, how could someone figure out by themselves what feels aligned or not?
Well, so I think that's definitely a lot harder, right? And I think that is, I think, doing a lot of journaling and meditation and self-reflection on what does feel aligned, because I think that we especially I think for new entrepreneurs, right? You start going down that path and you see all like this shiny thing and this thing and oh, this strategy and this expert said this and I'm going to read this book, and you fill your head with all this stuff. And it can start to feel like a lot of my clients, it's like, okay, I have all this stuff that's spinning. I've got so much that I want to do and learn. And so I think the first step is to start, taking some deep breaths and simplifying. And because you have to tune into yourself and your own intuition and to reconnect with who you are as a soul. And if you're looking to all this other stuff, it can all of a sudden feel really overwhelming. So if you're going to try to sort of DIY it, so to speak, then I think that would be the first step.
Thank you. Is there any place that we could go or anything that we could do to get instantly into a place of feeling flow?
I don't think there's any quick fix. To go to a place to get into instant flow, if you've never been in flow before, that's going to be really difficult. Just like if you go to the gym, you're not going to be able to pick up 80 pounds and start curling with that weight, right? You have to build up to it. And so if you've never taken the time to connect with who you truly are and to connect with your intuition or your higher self, connect with your soul, then it's going to take some practice.
Thank you. What I find is that, for example, when I'm on holiday, when I'm in a, especially if I'm in a luxury hotel, I feel really great. And there are also moments when I'm feeling good with without no reason at all. And then what happens is that something really good ends up happening. And then it's almost like I become this manifestation master. Yeah. And I manifest so many different things in a short space of time, almost that it feels a little bit overwhelming, but of course it's like I enjoy it. But what I encounter is a lot of self-sabotage. And I wonder, is that self-sabotage a way of my body telling me that now I've come to the end of the road and I'm not aligned anymore with the action I'm taking? Or is it that I have to clear something that is stopping me, that is perhaps like a limiting belief or a behavior that I'm doing that is kind of sabotaging myself? And is that the thing that I need to do in order to figure out, okay, I lost my train of thought. Now, what was my question? Did I ask the question or?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that example, right, of being on vacation. And that's when we can start to tune things out, right? You're not worried about all the to-do lists and all the different strategies you're trying to implement. And you're just being, in the present moment and experiencing joy. And so you get into that flow. And so that's whatever practice you can do to get into that, right? That's going to help with that. And to your question of the self-sabotage, that can be a few different things. And that's a great question, because one of that, it could be a past life block or a vow. Like, let's say in a past life, you got really wealthy, but then it kind of backfired and things didn't go so well. And your soul in that moment was like, oh man, money's evil, or I never want to get in this position again. I never want to have money. And so you take on that vow. And so that's still following you then into this life. So that could be one reason. And then it could also be from other conditioning that you can think about, okay, have I been told stories about money, right? That are telling me that I don't deserve it, or that it's evil, or whatever that sort of ceiling that you've got, right? It could be that too. So you can tune into those beliefs as well. And then I think you also brought up, could that be that your soul is out of alignment and that's why you're self-sabotaging? I think that's probably the least likely of all those three things. But usually what happens if you're out of alignment is that things around you don't work out, and you're getting a lot of pushback from external circumstances when you're not aligned, and just it's not showing up for you the way that you want.
Thank you. So is there anything we can do to kind of like, let's say if I feel that it's my soul's blueprint to speak and to empower people, but I was struggling with speaking for the last 10 years, and it's been really hard, so much so that even the podcast before this one, I was like coughing my way to success, and I had to mute myself the entire interview. And luckily, the audience didn't hear anything because I kept muting myself. But it's a major problem, right? So how does, let's say, your aligned path, which you feel, let's say in my case, I feel like it's my mission to impact 100 million people, to be happier, to go after what they want, to share their stories, and to create wealth through books that transform the world. And not only with that, and I feel that a major path for that is through my voice, and through transformations as well, personal image and books as well, and speaking around the world, right? And how can I what does the fact that I'm struggling with speaking tell you about, let's say, what I feel, for example, about the fact that I feel that my aligned path is to speak and to empower 100 million people, but what I'm experiencing in the now is that I've been struggling to speak for 10 years. So what do I need to do to release that manifestation block and to make it actually happen?
Yeah, that is a great question. And this is something that it's so interesting and frustrating, I think, for people that when you don't know what the cause is, right? It's like, well, this is my clear mission. Why am I not able to step into this? And very often, and it sounds like in your case, that comes from some past lives that went off the rails. Because if you think about it, if your gift is to speak, that's a gift that you've had as a soul in all your incarnations. Like if you're a fifth energy center, like throat chakra, you're like, that's your gifts come from that. That means you've been expressing that in some past lives. And then there's a good chance if you've been doing that a lot of lifetimes, then that has not gone well in some of those lifetimes, right? That you've spoken up and you've been punished for it. And so there could be things that have gone wrong that your soul is still carrying, that you haven't healed and released. And that's what's blocking you from able to fully step in to that goal that you have, and that space as a speaker and making that big impact. And which is why I'm such a big advocate of healing. When you're thinking about manifesting, you're thinking about going after your dreams, you can't be just future facing. You have to really look at what is holding you back, whether that's things from this present life that need to get healed, or whether that's things from that your soul's carrying from past lives that need to get cleared out and released, which is something that I do with my clients, right? To clear that out so that you can kind of move forward without that holding you back. Because it's actually really common. If you think about all the lives that we've lived and all the ways that things could have gone wrong, it's a crazy place here on earth. And then your soul's still carrying that.
Thank you. So are you saying that it's possible to work with someone like you to release those manifestation blocks? And is there anything that, let's say, I can do by myself as well to kind of help get there? Because what happens is that because I'm not, I haven't been able to speak so clearly, and I'm finding actually that recently I'm encountering like a stutter as well. And I think that I'm manifesting what I don't want, which is that, let's say, if I'm saying I can't speak, I'm noticing that it's actually become harder to even speak in the sense of, speaking without a stutter. I'm getting that as well. But I was thinking about it last night, and I think the more I, speak to people like you about, okay, what can I do? I think the more I say it, I'm manifesting what I don't want as well. So what can I do to actually stop this loop of manifesting negativity from happening?
Well, I think that for past life stuff, I do always advocate, working with someone, and whether it's past life regression or, going into the Akashic Records to release that. And you do have to do work as well. And it's not a long process, right? It's like a session or two to kind of get in there and realign that. And then you start to take action that's aligned with where you want to go. So that's always what I recommend. If you're trying to do it on your own, then I think that it's again doing a lot of self-reflection and journaling about where you think these blocks can come from, meditating, connecting with yourself, and trying to intentionally release those, and then continuing to take daily action, even if it's small, towards the goal that you want to achieve.
For people that want to release manifestation blocks, what else can they do in order to start seeing at least small progress towards their goals?
Well, so I think that one thing that you have to understand with manifestation is that it's a holistic effort. I think that sometimes, like if we want to manifest $10,000, say, or we want to manifest more money, but then we're really frustrated in our home life and we're arguing with people and things are out of harmony in other places, but we're doing all of our positive visualizations for the money. And oh, I'm my future self and I'm empowered and I'm all this positivity, but you've got all this negativity in other parts of your life, then that's going to interfere with the money manifestation, right? So you have to show up in all areas of your life at that higher vibration of what you're trying to match for your manifestation. So I think that's the number one thing to think about, is to look around at your life, how you're showing up, and is that in alignment with who you're trying to be and what you're trying to call in? And is that a match for that, right? And then I think also is the hyper focus on the manifestation then can sometimes sabotage it, right? You have to then, and this is all, I think a lot of different people talk about this in different ways, but I think that the hyper focus on it, on the manifestation, then can sabotage as well. So by focusing on your whole life and all the different areas that you're showing up and being that, then that can help to not be so hyper focused on like the money, for instance, right? You're also focused on showing up in love with your family, right? Which is a high vibration that's going to attract abundance in the form of money. So it's interesting that I think if you want to manifest more money, focus on being more loving and showing up in a higher vibration in love. And then that's going to attract the ideas and the opportunities and the people that are going to bring you that abundance for money. So I think
I actually think it's quite interesting that you mentioned that, because I find that when I'm in love, okay, and sometimes I'm in love with myself, like I actually feel this intense feeling of love, and sometimes it's even music that brings it on, like there's a certain music that makes me feel like so much love, and I'm saying even if I'm alone, it just gives me that incredible like contentment with myself, and almost like this feeling of appreciation for myself. I guess there's a mix between gratitude and self-love, and there's just that special feeling of love that I feel. And I find that when I'm feeling that it does feel easier to manifest different things. And actually related to what you said earlier about, are you aligned in all areas of your life, in terms of, are you, high frequency in all areas? For example, I try to be very positive, even if, let's say, I don't have always like positive circumstances. But what I find that I'm very angry with my team. And the reason I'm angry is, for example, if they make mistakes. So let's say if we were to do a podcast with you, and if they wrote your name as, let's say, instead of Alexa Darrin, they would write Alex, or they would write Alex with I. It really drives me absolutely insane. And I know people make mistakes, but I find it, and I think it could be because of my past, where my grandma used to be very perfectionist, and I am as well. I became like this. And she used to punish me for, let's say, my average at school was like 9.81 out of 10. And she was saying, like, why didn't you get 10, And it was, a very tough thing for her and for my mother to cope with, that, why didn't you get 10 for everything? And if I ever got a 9, it was such a big deal. I had to explain myself and I would get punished. And I'm not sure if it's that I'm holding them to that kind of standard where they can't make mistakes. And I know that, it's inevitable that they will. But at the same time, I just feel like, they shouldn't, because it's like, obviously they shouldn't, because it's like so important that, someone like you deserves to have the best in terms of, having your name spelled correctly. So like, I do find that I'm not aligned in terms of having that high frequency everywhere. And the area where I'm not aligned in particular is with my team. I get very angry when they make mistakes like that.
I love that you brought that up, because that's such a great example of how sometimes it's not about healing the money blocks. It's about healing the inner child, right? Healing the inner child that experienced that that criticism and how to deal with that. And once you can heal that inner child, then your frequency can raise in that area of your life, and then you'll be able to manifest more. It's not always about the money blocks, right? You have to look again at healing.
Healing holistically, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. And that could involve inner child, that can involve past lives, that could involve limiting beliefs, fears and shame and all kinds of stuff, facing your shadow, like all these different things. If you notice something that is triggering you, right? Triggering those intense emotions, that's an invitation to say, okay, where is this anger coming from? Where is this frustration coming from? And if you can tie it back to your childhood, then that's great, because then you know where to go to heal, right? And then you can engage in that and release that. And then you're not going to react in that way. And then that will then bring in more abundance. So it's not, again, it's not a money block. It's just an inner child issue.
Thank you. So let's say I know all of this already in terms of like, I know where it comes from, let's say, but I don't know how to heal it. So the idea is that we still would need to kind of work with you to figure out how to actually release it, right?
Yeah, you can DIY it, there you can Google it, like how to heal your inner child and do all that. There's, if you want to go DIY or if you want to have someone help you, it just depends on what your preference is. But that's something I do with clients on one-off sessions, but it's also a part of my 3-month program. When someone's coming and they want to manifest a new career, or they want more confidence, or whatever it is they want to change their circumstances, one of the first things we do is look at what needs to get healed and released. And inner child is something that we look at, in the beginning. And there's a lot of different tools and kind of guided releases and things that I do to work with spirit, but also work here in the 3D to help them release those wounds from childhood.
Thank you. In terms of releasing anger and having that be spiral towards manifesting your soul's desires, how would you suggest entrepreneurs do that?
How would I suggest they release the anger?
Yeah, release the anger, and then that leading up to manifesting your soul's desires.
Yeah, I think that's it's interesting. I just had a client who finished my 3-month program who had just a lot of anger issues. And it was just really, really getting in the way of a lot. And by the end of the program, gone, right? But it was like she showed up and she dedicated herself, right? So we did the inner child healing, really understanding. I think the first step is understanding where the anger comes from. And so that's something that you can start to do on your own. You can start to think, okay, to notice the triggers, to notice what's making you angry, and start to maybe journal about it. Where is this coming from? Why am I so angry? To start to be aware of that and then be more conscious of it. And so we worked on a lot of, techniques for in the moment, how to manage your energy when you start to get angry, how to do I have some guided meditations, that I've channeled that help to release that. We did past life healing, inner child stuff to kind of come at it from all angles, and then give her the tools that she could practice, on a regular basis, to then change her perspective when people irritated her, or when somebody, didn't do what they're supposed to do, someone that she was hiring, that was dropping the ball or this or that she was able to then react in a way that was with more humor and more ease than it was with the anger. And then all of a sudden she started to experience more synchronicities and more epiphanies, and then had this great opportunity show up right after she released the anger. Not because she was trying to manifest that, but it was just this amazing byproduct of her learning to understand her anger and make a choice to kind of redirect it into something else.
Thank you. What routines and habits would you recommend entrepreneurs have in order to manifest their soul's desires?
Routines and habits. Well, I think a lot of people talk about morning routines and all of that. And I think having a daily routine to connect with yourself and to connect with some of those high vibration frequencies, to get connected to your why and what you're trying to manifest, right? So that is not a one size fits all. What I recommend though is a space in the morning, and I say the morning because you want to set your day up for success, where you can get rid of all the energy that you've collected or that you've taken on. And doing it at the end of the day is good too. Get rid of that, calling your energy back to you, connecting, setting that intention to connect with your soul, with your higher self, with your heart, with your big why, and feeling, and I'm very spiritual, so I like to call in divine love, like bathe myself in the love. That's very high vibration. Call in all the emotions, the feelings that you want for your day. Not necessarily, this is my to-do list, these are my goals, this is the outcome. What are the feelings I want to call in today? And just take some time to feel those in the morning, because, and then take that into you're looking at your planner and your calendar for the day and looking at your priorities. But if you can get your energy kind of aligned first before you go into the to-dos, and because all that's needed as well, then I think it's, again, your soul's gonna guide you towards alignment, and you're gonna get more epiphanies and you're gonna get more synchronicities because your energy is on board with what you're trying to experience that day and where you're trying to go.
Thank you. Are there any particular things that your clients have managed to manifest with your methods?
Well, one of my clients, she had been single for like a decade and just manifested a man that she's very much in love with just very recently, and a new job. Another one, yeah, love was a theme recently. Another one, and one client, just this morning, we've been working together for a couple months, and he manifested this opportunity that he didn't think was possible, and for the space he's trying to create, and he manifested the space to like have his business in and host this group, and that just like fell from the sky. So stuff like that, all these like synchronicities start popping up.
Thank you. What are some techniques to elevate your frequency aside from what you just said?
Other techniques to elevate your frequency. Well, you know what? Breath work actually is a great technique for elevating your frequency. And so breath work you can do the full, guided breath work, if you've heard of like Soma breath, and there's the music and the beat and all of that, which is great. But if you also are feeling like you're frustrated with your employees, with your team, and you're like, why did they misspell that? Right? If you're in a moment, taking some time to do some just quick breath work of doing the controlled breathing, that can raise your vibration. It doesn't have to be like a long, complicated routine, but that's something that people don't necessarily think about when they think about raising their vibration, but that can help a lot.
Thank you. One thing that I experience a lot is shame, especially after, let's say I run an event, and it's, let's say, an event with 200 people or even 50 people. And even if the event is really great, I think I often have this feeling after the event. I'm thinking about, oh, I could have done better. It's almost like there's that feeling of, like I'm a champion, and did I really perform at the 10 out of 10 kind of level, or did I really make some mistakes? And even if someone didn't say, oh, you sucked here, or you didn't do this or that, I still like internally feel like I failed. And then I go into this shame where I feel the need to hide myself for a few days and not speak to anyone, because I'm feeling that shame and I need to like experience it by myself. And then I hide myself sometimes for months, in the sense that, normally after the event, you should really like, connect with people. And a lot of times people are hyped up and they want to even buy lots of different things. And that has stopped me in the past from actually closing deals, because I have this feeling of shame, and it can last a long time to come out of it. And then once I've come out of it, the clients are not as warm and as excited and motivated about what I had to, to show them at the event. And a lot of times, like right after the event, they're like, oh my God, I had this amazing transformation, or oh my God. And I cried because I had such an amazing experience. And like, I can't wait for us to talk about this or that. So I do find that it stops me a lot from actually closing big deals. So what do you suggest I do there?
Well, so that sounds like it's related to what you were talking about earlier about feeling the kind of fear, hesitation, self-sabotage around even just getting up to speak in the first place. So you're scared to do it. And then when you do it, you're second guessing whether you should have, or if it was good enough. So that feels like that's all tied to the same, I would say past life wounds that you could release. So to release that shame, there's lots of different techniques, and that's something that, we could go a lot more in depth on, but I think that also comes back to self-love as well, right? In addition to the healing is, and having, if you know that that's going to happen, can you make a plan in advance of your speaking engagement? Can you make a disaster plan for after? What are you going to do to set yourself up for success after that, to make sure that you don't go off the rails and that you don't go into hiding? Can you set up a support system? Is there somebody that you can talk to after, that can help you to reframe the things that you're beating yourself up for? Can you, do you want to hire a coach then to help you to improve if you feel like, oh, okay, I'm not, like a speaking coach? Maybe it is something that you want to get more help on. But I think thinking about how can you set yourself up for success then before and after, knowing that's going to happen. What are some strategies that would work for you? And that's got to be really personalized, right? Is that putting yourself in a place where you're with friends and you go out and you have fun and you're talking about something else to distract you? Or is there a way to get the momentum going up instead of just kind of like crashing after the event?
Yeah. So it's not so much like I feel like I wasn't a good speaker. It's more like just a feeling of shame of not having done well enough, but not necessarily not being a good speaker, because at the moment, like I do feel like I've mastered that. But just, and I actually find that even with podcasting, I get that. So like on Thursday, like after I finish, I do like 24 interviews per week. And on Thursday, when the last one finishes, I feel like, oh my God, I'm not sure that I did, well enough. So sometimes I beat myself up. Sometimes no, because sometimes I feel fine. But it's something I'm still struggling with. But yes, thank you for giving me some insights about that. Tell us where entrepreneurs can find you.
I will say real quickly that it also feels tied to your inner child as well. You were talking about, was your grandmother, right? That would, so that it's perfectionism that's showing up for you. And so, looking into some inner child healing, ways to nurture that inner child, to let her know that she is perfect just the way that she is, and she doesn't need to meet someone else's standard, and that she did a great job, like things that can nurture your inner child, that I think could help with the perfectionism and beating yourself up after or questioning whether you did good enough after that. So where you can find me is very easy. I'm at alexadarrin.com, and on Instagram, I'm at Alexa Darrin.
Follow me for more manifestation techniques.